Hi, my name is Trevor Smith. Welcome to Full Burn, where we kick some tires, light some fires, and interview awesome founders across the space and defense industry. This is going to be a little different. There is some space aspects to it, not defense aspects, but some other unique things that you use in space to actually do your business. So I'm here with Augustus, and we're at Rainmaker, and we're actually at the warehouse about to take off in Southern California. And we're going to head to the PCH, Pacific Coast Highway, right along the ocean. So he's going to get me there. But while we get there, why don't you tell me who Augustus is?
Yeah, totally. So I'm the founder and CEO of Rainmaker Technology Corporation. Our mission is to make water abundant and make Earth habitable by bringing to bear best-in-class cloud seeding technology to make it rain and snow more. And so that means that we produce more water for farms, reservoirs, utilities, and cities that are suffering from drought. We're deployed across the Western United States and the Middle East right now.
And the Middle East.
And the Middle East. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So we build four things. You're going to turn right at the light there.
Okay.
Or at the sign.
Stop sign.
We build four primary technologies. The first of which is the remote sensing hardware and algorithms. So the thing that makes Rainmaker different from every previous cloud seeding operation,
Because there's so many.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, are there?
There used to be. So cloud seeding, to speak to defense, there used to be a program called Operation Popeye, where in yes, shooting it straight. So in Vietnam, the 54th Weather Reconnaissance Squadron had a motto.
Weather Reconnaissance Squadron.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
They had a motto which was "Make mud, not war." And so they you're gonna go left here.
All right.
They attempted to flood out the Ho Chi Minh Trail to impede the Viet Cong's logistics.
Now, we were talking a little earlier about some rules of engagement.
Yep.
That sounds like can you talk a little more about that?
Totally. So after it became public that the United States government, that is, was doing weaponized weather modification. In the 70s, something was developed called NMOD, which is the Environmental Modification Weaponization Treaty, which said no more weaponization of the environment. So since Vietnam, at least publicly, at least as far as I know, there's been no weaponization of cloud seeding since then. Rainmaker only does civilian applications, only makes more rain and snow for farms and ecosystems in need. So that's us. And the way that we do that is, and the reason why it's important, the reason why, for example, like this tech isn't ubiquitous already, is it was always really hard to validate what the human effect was. Like if I fly a plane up into a cloud, sprinkle some magic beans, and then it rains, that doesn't mean that we made it rain. You have to differentiate between the natural effect and the man-made effect. And so with the right remote sensing, which means a few different IR bands from satellites, from LiDAR, and from radar, both ground and sat-based, you can detect where there's super cold liquid in clouds, and then measure the phase change from water to ice and the precipitation that's just in the area that you are seeding in. And so that's like our whole meat and potatoes. That monitoring and remote sensing is the most important part of the company. Then we use drones that are weather resistant. They can withstand severe icing. That's a beautiful view, right?
Oh my gosh, beautiful.
Gundo is magnificent. So we'll make drones that can withstand severe icing. And then we develop better weather models as well to get better predictive power now that we have AI, ML, big cloud compute, all that.
So you're a SaaS company.
We're
Snow as a service.
We're a Snow as a service company, yeah. Let's go left.
Okay. Snow as a service.
Yeah, God. We do snow as a service. It's mostly for like governments and reservoirs, like I said, but there's a few ski resorts like Snowbird that we service too.
Cool. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your background. Where'd you grow up? What'd you study?
Yeah.
Are you using anything that you studied? Because that didn't happen to me. But yeah.
So I grew up in Connecticut. Despite what the mullet would betray.
Dude, it's a good mullet, man.
Thanks, bro. I used to be like a Sperry's, pastels, and khaki kid.
Okay.
Yeah, and
well, you kind of khakis.
Yeah. The cargo shorts, sort of, but cargo pants. But I grew up in Connecticut. I used to sail a lot. Really enjoyed the time there. Very idyllic place to grow up. Where'd you grow up?
On a farm in Mississippi.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Cows and horses and dirt bikes.
It's a different vibe, but I lived in Texas for a bit, which
There
is
you
like
go.
that. So Connecticut, then I went to school at UC Berkeley. I was studying physics there, and I really enjoyed that, but my sophomore year, second semester, was COVID.
Oh, wow.
And so school went online. I moved to Texas because Texas was open, and Berkeley was like...
Where in Texas?
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth, okay.
Yeah.
You know the stockyards?
I'm so glad you know the stockyards.
Dude, I love the
Yeah,
stockyards.
for those that don't know, the stockyards are... How even do you describe it? It's like there's a rodeo there. There's a bunch of different places to two-step. It's spectacular.
There's like a maze.
Yeah.
Is that still there?
Yeah. No, it is.
You can get, what's the bar on the corner where like they have the taps coming out of the back of a buffalo's rear end?
I don't think I've even been there.
Dude,
No, okay.
It's so, like, the bar is two-sided, and the buffalo splits the wall. I think it's buffalo or a bull. It's a longhorn bull. And they have a tap coming out the front and the back.
Nice.
It's Texas, right?
Yep.
It's
So
Texas.
I liked Texas while I was there during the pandemic. It was in Texas where I co-founded my first company, which
What was that?
Actual SaaS.
Actual. No, so are you.
No,
This
I
is
know.
actual SaaS.
Snow is actual SaaS too. But it was automating regulatory compliance for groundwater users.
Okay.
So that's how I got into water. I co-founded it with like one of the biggest water well drillers in Texas. And then that company grew a bit, and I ended up getting pilled on like Peter Thiel and the Thiel Fellowship, and I dropped out of college my senior year.
At the goal line.
Yeah, basically 11th hour, and worked on that for a while. Moved out to LA to try to grow the company, and then exited that company at the beginning of 23, and started Rainmaker for the sake of making more water, because I've been talking to all these farmers about how much water they needed and about how hard it was to come by, but nobody was producing more water. And desalination, like, that's a non-starter if you're on a farm in the Central Valley or if you're in Colorado. And so do I use any of what I studied in school? No, 0%. And I mean, to that point, like, dude, anybody can read research papers. Like, I don't know why we put such a high premium on like the ability to...
There are certain things I think you have to learn in school, like labs, chemistry, like really hard stuff like that. But a lot of just like working in the world, especially like founder stuff, you got to just get the real world MBA.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it might even be more costly, the real world MBA, but you never know. Depending on the school. So what was the like seminal moment that you're like, all right, Rainmaker's going to be a thing?
Yeah, totally.
Right? What was that day like? What was the epiphany?
I can tell you the day that it happened. So,
what were you wearing? No, I'm kidding.
I was thinking about what I wanted to do next as I was selling my old company, and I knew I wanted to do something in water. I wanted to make more water. And cloud seeding and weather modification, it seemed like this technology that was forgotten about, that was like as exciting as rocketry or fission. Like, people have...
Dude, you were excited about it.
Yeah. No, I was over the moon because like, okay, rocketry gets you to other planets. Yeah. Like, fission gives you free energy. But weather modification, it should be able to like terraform the planet. Yeah. You should be able to make more water, make deserts green.
You can take Rainmaker to Mars?
We should talk about what's funny? I mean, yes. Venus actually is going to be easier because there's already an atmosphere.
There's a lot of clouds.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, I've got this weird thesis where the Cloud City thing probably makes more sense economically on Venus, but I would rather just like be a human being and live on the surface of a planet. So if you precipitate all the CO2 down...
There's Star Wars fans that would argue with you.
Yeah, exactly. But eventually, interplanetary Rainmaker ops. I was super psyched on cloud seeding, but then I realized, like, okay, if this tech has existed in some form or another since the 40s...
Why is it special?
Well, yeah.
What's the unlock?
If it's not ubiquitous, then it must just be fake.
Yeah.
And I desperately went to the Weather Modification Association conference, which is real.
It's riveting stuff, I bet.
Well, so you'd think like it's Illuminati type stuff. It's like a 2-3 dozen professors that are super third rail that have been researching it for forever. And what I realized there was the critical unlock was validation. It was from the Snowy project, which is this project where they realized if you have the right wavelength of radar, you should be able to measure the precipitation that's occurring just downstream of your plane. In our case, drone, but in their case, plane. And
aircraft.
Yep. Yeah. And they proved their hypothesis correct. They were able to differentiate between man-made precipitation and natural precipitation perfectly. And that was like the unlock. I was like, okay, if you can prove that it works, if you can actually demonstrate the value prop.
And when was this?
That was in April 23.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember basically as soon as that happened, I got on the phone with Michael Gibson, and he's from 1517. He started the Teal Fellowship.
Okay.
And he runs his own fund now. I was like, Michael, like, we gotta talk, man. Like, I figured it out. And he was like, oh, okay, so, yeah, tell me about it.
Tell me more.
And I sounded ridiculous at the time, I'm sure, but that's where it all began. It started in Aurora, Colorado, of all places.
Okay.
Where the conference was.
Interesting. So, in this podcast we obviously want to talk about your company, but more focused on like you as a founder.
Sure.
What is a story about either saving a project that went totally sideways and you had to do something crazy, or you like did something crazy to like close a deal? And it doesn't even have to be at Rainmaker, but just like about you, like what's something wild you did to either save a program or like, hey, we locked this great contract, or an investor in, like what, any sort of wild story?
Yeah. So I think the spirit of what you're asking is like, what's some insane thing that we did to move the ball forward?
Yeah, what moved the needle? Yeah.
So here's a story that a few people know about. I don't think we talk about publicly, but this
is going to be public.
No, I know, it's fine. It's fine now. Water under the bridge with the FAA. We're homies now.
Oh, I got it.
But we were doing some initial tests and drone flights in the Central Valley, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, like, clouds are up above us. Like, you can't fly below 400 feet and actually do cloud seeding in most cases. So we were flying higher than we were supposed to be flying. We did not have our Part 107 waivers at the time, which we should have. But then later on, after we're doing all this testing, a former employee that we let go, who I respect a lot, but was pretty unhappy, reported us to the FAA.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, and so there's this federal investigation into Rainmaker, because also one of the accusations is like we almost hit a C-130. We didn't. Yeah, but the FAA basically told us like, okay, it's cool this time. Like, I'm glad you guys know what to do safely now, but like, if we catch you again doing that, like, you're grounded throughout the United States. And we're like, whoa, where do we go now? Because the waiver process was going to take so long, and we found out about the Pendleton UAS range. You ever heard of this?
No.
So there are a few places throughout the country.
Pendleton?
Well, so not in warm, sunny, happy San Diego.
Okay.
Up in Pendleton, Oregon. Northeastern Oregon, middle of nowhere, town of 15,000 people.
Yeah.
2,000 of them are in a prison. There's this huge deregulated airspace in northeastern Oregon, and they let you fly at high altitudes. They let you test new vehicles, and so we're like, you know what, guys? We have to move the entire company to Pendleton for an indefinite period of time to do drone flights.
Yeah.
Like, we have to keep testing. And so we took, we were 12 people at the time. We took the whole company from El Segundo, which like we're a huge proponent of, which is sunny and nice, up to a hangar. And we all lived out of a hangar in northeastern Oregon for like 4.5 months, just so that we could actually do drone flights and drone tests to qualify our initial vehicle.
Wow.
Yeah. And everybody was super on board, which in retrospect is insane. Like, Rainmaker is full of maniacs, because who in their right mind would deploy to, and when I say middle of nowhere, I mean like we'd have to fly from LAX to Portland, and then we'd get in a 6-seater plane on an airline called Boutique Air and fly from Portland to Pendleton.
Wow.
It's 1-hour flight. So it's middle of nowhere, but that's where we got like our first meaningful data on the efficacy of our system. It's where we proved out our first vehicle. That was like
good story.
Insane. Yeah.
Good story.
Yeah.
I'll tell you mine later. I almost blew myself up multiple times.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do talk a lot about space. Maybe you could talk a little bit about how all the things that are going on in space enable some of your technology. What does that look like?
The satellite constellations coming online are going to be instrumental for all weather research and weather modification operations in the future. And so on the one hand, you have hyperspectrals, which are super useful for detecting super cooled liquid and aerosols and ice in clouds. So like the planets there, that's great.
Yeah.
The GOES constellation that is up there.
What is that?
GOES. It's got, I think,
so
19
is it a
bands.
geo?
Yeah, there's 2.
GOES.
Yes. That allows you to get like cloud top temperature, cloud base temperature, cloud phase. Those are instrumental satellites. But the thing that I think is most interesting is, have you heard of satellite radio occultation?
No.
So basically, you can send a satellite up with a sensor that's deliberately made for like weather sensing.
Okay.
Or if you have like a cord between two satellites, call them Starlinks, right, at different points in their orbit, they're communicating, and there's attenuation in the signal that you have to account for when you're doing like comms work.
Yeah.
Well, if you actually take that attenuation data, then you can infer the density of the atmosphere in between those two satellites, the phase, the contents of the atmosphere there. And so now with the Starlink constellation online,
do you guys use Starlink, or do you use other satellites?
So we use Starlink operationally. We don't use this radio occultation yet, but we're going to in the future. There's a company called Spire.
Yeah. I know Teresa, the CEO, CFO. I can't remember. Sorry, Teresa.
I don't know. But their product is super interesting, and it's this. That I think is how we're going to get more tropospheric weather data than we've ever had before.
Wow. Okay. So more sats unlocks a lot of things for you.
More sats, not even with like boutique sensors that are made for weather.
Yeah.
It's just like the comms links and the attenuation between those comms links.
Interesting.
It's so useful.
What was the first time you could prove that you made it snow? Because like you're doing a lot more snow than rain.
Yeah. So we actually have to roll out like a deliberate announcement about this. So all of the no. So we've been pretty,
exclusive.
Yeah. So we've been pretty sleeper for the last many months, just because we tried to get like our R&D down, our engineering down. But it happened in the last 4 months.
Wow, congrats. That's awesome.
That was a very big moment for us.
That's awesome. So what's a piece of advice that you would have for either aspiring or kind of year zero founders? Because you're on your second company.
This is second company. Technically, Rainmaker now is 2 years and 20 days old.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, since incorporation. Let's see. I think that, so my first advice is like meta advice, and it's to not take advice. And so,
some inception going on.
Yeah, I know, super weird, but basically like, if you're a first time founder, if you're not like an egomaniac, you're going to think like, okay, I'm a moron. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know how to handle this.
The
or that
imposter
problem.
syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so you'll approach people that have done it before, that are really smart. And you'll ask them for solutions to your problems or advice about how to solve your problems. The problem with that, though, is like nobody has nearly as much context as you on your business, on your technology. And so if you actually do rely on people's low confidence advice about how to run your company and what technical decisions to make and who to hire,
or low informed.
Exactly. Low information, high confidence.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna make.
Yeah, they're really confident, but they actually haven't been informed.
Exactly.
Which is the problem.
And this is actually it was this like meta advice is actually from Naval, from a conversation we had. Like you gotta trust your gut more than you trust anybody else's advice. And then if you do take advice, this is a Keith Raboism. Like ask for heuristics, ask for ways to think about problems rather than solutions to problems.
Yeah.
Those are some meta level things. And then I think in addition to that, I have never once hired a cultural fit that was basically I've prioritized hiring cultural fits and mission driven people with high learning rates over like pure technical excellence every time. And that isn't to say that like you can hire goofballs with no relevant experience in a field, but that has paid huge dividends because in hiring like maniacs that are culturally aligned and mission aligned, you end up with 20 people willing to go live in a warehouse in Oregon if the company requires it.
So is it fair to say like the trust factor is a heavy weight versus like a resume that looks perfect?
I don't really read resumes.
Yeah. GPA, I don't know what that is.
Well, I mean, if anything, actually, there's sort of like a negative indicator once you're above like 3.8. You know,
oh, good. I didn't get there. I was, my dad on graduation day, he goes, "What's your GPA?" And I said, "Dad, is diploma good?" And he goes, "It's good enough for me." I was like 3.2, but it wasn't bad. But
no, that's fine. What do they say? They say C's get degrees too, C's. Right? So you had margin there.
I definitely have margin.
Point.
So normally I ask a lot of space questions, but talk to me about the pros of your business, and then maybe some of the unfounded concerns about what you're doing, because like a lot of people are concerned, like conspiracy tinfoil hat things about what you're doing. So maybe talk to me about, hey, here are some things that are out in the media that like totally untrue, that people are freaking out about, that really doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And then like, what does success also look like for a Rainmaker?
100%. So I mean, first I'll say, like, I think that a lot of people's concerns are well-founded, right? If somebody's talking about modifying the weather, that seems pretty crazy on its face. If somebody's talking about spraying particulate into the atmosphere, then that also is valid cause for concern.
Because you're putting things in the atmosphere.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
You have to see something up there.
So I don't fault people for having those concerns. But what I can say definitively is, like, cloud seeding, it's altogether different than those long streaky things you see in the sky, whether you call them chemtrails or contrails.
Yeah.
It's altogether different than solar radiation management, which is this technology that's trying to cool down the planet by reflecting more sunlight in the atmosphere. Cloud seeding is just a water supply tool. Okay. So it's a technology that existed for 80 years. We only know how effective it is now because of radar innovations for measurement. And so cloud seeding makes more water for farms and ecosystems and reservoirs, like I said. A technology that'll make or break whether we can continue to live and farm in the United States into the future, especially in the Midwest and the American West, where all the reservoirs and the groundwater is drying up. We want to make water abundant so that people and ecosystems can thrive just the way that they have in the past. Now, the concern that people will say is, okay, even if this technology isn't chemtrailing, even if it doesn't have coal fly ash, even if it's not reflecting sunlight, is the stuff that you're putting up there safe? And the answer to that is resoundingly safe. So we use something called silver iodide. It's 10 times safer than aspirin. We only use about 50 grams of it in one of our operations, and then
so what does 50 grams get you from like a snow perspective?
That's snowfall. So it depends on the cloud, but so like the more liquid in the cloud, the more snow you get. Yeah. But that ends up with snow distributed across like thousands of square miles.
So 50 grams across thousands of square miles. That's all you need to like.
Because you set off this
snow as a service.
Yeah, exactly. Because you set off this chain reaction where you have a huge cloud with lots of liquid in it. Yeah. You spray the silver iodide, and then that freezes some initial ice crystals. Those then break apart, freeze into more ice crystals, and so on and so forth. So just as much material as can fit in the palm of your hand, distributed over like hundreds of thousands, millions of acres, that concentration of particulate when it gets to the ground, it's after decades of operating from like old operations, you only can measure like 8 additional parts per trillion in the soil.
Parts per trillion?
Yeah, exactly. Wow. And there's 2 parts per million naturally occurring silver in the soil. So we're way below the natural threshold. Yeah. Silver iodide is even safer than silver itself. And you would need to eat. I think we did the math a few days ago. If you ate 1 foot deep into the soil, you need to eat 780 acres of the ground to get. So your stomach would explode. You die.
You're well before. Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to eat all of that dust on the ground to actually get like a lethal dose.
I've been to Burning Man. Like that could happen. There's a lot of dust out there.
Yeah. Sure. Well, so a bunch of people are asking me, I think last year, like when Burning Man flooded, they were like, "Oh, Augustus, like, did you flood out all the?"
No way.
Yeah, all the time. Every time it rains, people will text me and be like, "Hey, are you making it rain in Los Angeles right now?" Or someone will text me and be like, "Hey, I'm going skiing in Vail. Like, can you make fresh cow?"
Yeah.
Eventually, yes, but not.
No friends on what's it called? No friends on Powder Day or something like that. Yeah. Do you have any tinfoil hat theories in like space? Are there any conspiracies going on
in space?
Yeah.
Well, you know what I saw that came out relatively recently? I think this is part of the JFK file declassification.
Yeah? I haven't looked at that. Are there any good nuggets in there?
Yeah, dude. So
did the CIA finally admit to it?
Well, kind of. But,
kind of? Okay.
There's this one note, and I think it's like a paragraph long, but JFK, he was trying to de-escalate with the Soviets, right? So he was saying like, well, we should make a joint moon base, right? Like we should jointly militarize the moon with the Soviets.
Yeah, how's that going?
Not great, but but part of why that never happened was because a bunch of U.S. generals were like, no, we can't do a joint moon base because then the creatures that inhabit the dark side of the moon will get mad because our united show of force. This is like in the documents.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
To say what kind of creatures over there?
No. I think they're referred to as like ETEs or something.
Little green men.
Yeah, extraterrestrial entities. And everybody, they were looking into like whether JFK was assassinated by the government or something, and they like kind of moved over this nugget of like, wait, what do you mean the generals thought there's like aliens on the dark side of the moon?
Wow.
That means we can't set up a base there with the Soviets. So that I think is worthy of further investigation.
Somebody was having fun on a Friday night. They're like, we're just going to throw this paragraph in there, see if anybody's actually paying attention.
I mean, 64,000 documents. Yeah, I could have slipped through without even noticing, but I saw that. I was like, oh, interesting.
So, have you or anyone you know had an encounter of the alien
variety?
Have you seen anything that looks like?
I prefer to believe, just as like a patriot, that there is like space age technology that the government has that we don't understand that looks like UFOs, like the whole Tic Tac thing or whatever.
Yeah.
So are there aliens? No. Where do you stand on the
I'm not sure about like visiting us here, but just a numbers game. The sheer vastness of the things that are out there, I have to think that there are, cognizant, intelligent intelligence out there. Whether there's technology to move around the universe and galaxy, who knows? But I think there definitely is. Because that would be super boring.
Do you think like carbon-based?
If there wasn't,
do you think like carbon-based biological life, or is it like machine silicon thing?
Oh, that's going way down tinfoil hat. In the AI society. So Christian, my COO, that gave me this book, and he's like, "You're gonna love this." It's called the Bobaverse.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, it's this guy who basically he runs a software company, makes a bunch of money, and signs a contract that says I'm going to freeze my brain. And then when society figures out how to unfreeze me and put me into a computer, I'll come back to life. That's like the opening story.
Okay.
And so he comes back to life as an AI, and then he uses the von Neumann probes. Are you familiar with von Neumann?
Yeah.
So von Neumann probes, use materials, replicate itself, and copy and spread out in the universe. I love that book. And could that exist out there? Totally. I kind of hope it does. If you have this big universe,
the left lane up here too, by the way.
How boring would it be if you just had this one tiny little blue planet with life? Why not? I mean, life is so abundant just on this planet. Why not? So, next question: what technology from science fiction would you love to see come to fruition?
Well,
beam me up, Scotty.
Yeah. I mean, I think of terraforming stuff all the time.
Of course you would say that. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course you would say that.
Ultimately, I want to terraform Earth, right? There's all these deserts that are just wastelands.
Yeah.
No farming capacity, no carrying capacity for people, no interesting biological life for the most part. I think that terraformers, so something that selectively emits the requisite gas, be it a greenhouse gas or otherwise, to cool or warm an area such that you could get the weather that you want. That seems pretty cool. They talk about this briefly in Foundation, terraformers, and how
isn't that a movie?
The book series Foundation. Yeah, it's by Isaac Asimov. So they talk about terraformers. I think that's pretty cool. I think that like just nuking the poles of Mars is going to be awesome. You know, like,
yeah, I have a little coffee cup. It's a SpaceX coffee cup. When you put hot coffee in, the red planet turns green and blue.
That's awesome.
And then my wife stuck in the washer and it ruined it. But
okay. Sad.
She said she'd buy me a new one. Come on, sweetie. I need another coffee cup.
What's your wife's name?
Catherine.
Yeah.
Need another coffee cup, sweetie.
Yeah. That's the sort of space age tech that I'm interested in.
So, you know, you're taking on this big idea. What keeps you driven? What excites you every day to come in and like go tackle this thing that you're trying to do?
Yeah. Are you religious?
I am. Yeah.
So,
that's why I'm saying, like, God, like, if he made the universe, which I think he did, it would be super boring if he just put one smart speed. Like, he's got this whole other thing. Anyway, that's my take on it.
So, yeah, dude, I mean, basically, I think that, like, God gave us a responsibility to, like, steward the earth and take care of it and make it.
So this is your motivation.
Yeah, that's why we do what we do at Rainmaker.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
I also just, like living in California, and you need water to live here. So,
had a little trouble lately? Did anybody call you about fires?
A lot of people call it about the fires. Yeah.
Was that good for your business, I guess?
Well, so not so much, just because like if there's no clouds, then you can't make the clouds rain.
Oh, that's true.
Right. Yeah. So
So to clarify, you can't make a cloud.
Cannot.
But you can make a cloud bigger.
We can make a cloud rain more. That's what we can do. Or snow.
Yeah.
We can make a cloud precipitate more.
Are you going to pivot your marketing to Snowmaker?
No, because we're gonna dial in the rain thing too.
As you were telling me about this a little earlier, why is it more difficult? So why is it easier to make snow than rain? Because I think that's actually something that we should talk about.
Totally. So the material that we use, it's called silver iodide, right? Its crystal structure is almost identical to ice. And so water will favorably freeze onto it and then grow into bigger and bigger snowflakes. The utility of that is that you can make big snowflakes that become heavy enough to fall. But if you have a warm cloud where the water won't freeze, right?
Yeah.
So if it's above 0 degrees Celsius, well, then what you need to do is you need to make more drops or make the drops bigger by condensing the water vapor in the cloud into bigger drops. And you can use something like salt, like table salt for that. The problem with that, though, is it's not actually that it's harder to make the rain per se, but it's harder to prove that it's man-made.
Yeah.
Because when you go from water to ice using silver iodide, you can detect that phase change on radar. Whereas if you go from same volume of water to same volume of water but bigger drops.
Yeah. It's harder to say, hey, we did that.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's like the fundamental difference, and that's some of the deepest innovation, or that's some of the most like frontier innovation that Rainmaker's working on right now.
Let's see if this is There we go.
Nice. And that side's all clean right now too, so we can loop back.
Oh yeah. You a car guy?
Dude, being in El Segundo among all the dudes there and not being like an actual gearhead is probably one of the worst aspects of the quality of life there. My first car, though, was a manual transmission Chrysler Crossfire with the spoiler and everything.
Oh yeah, the Crossfire.
I was very proud of that at the time. So,
what's the fastest you've been in a vehicle? A ground vehicle.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously airplanes, but
I think I got the Crossfire up to...
I got the Crossfire.
yeah. Because it was between Phoenix and Tucson. I think I got it up to 111.
Nice. That's respectable.
Yeah.
I think we just did 111.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was close. Should I flip around?
Yeah.
Oh, no U-turn. Okay. All right, so blank check. What vehicle would you go get today? Another Crossfire?
No.
Okay.
Mercedes Grocer 600.
Okay.
One of the old school. Okay, so the reason why I say this is it kind of looks like a Rolls-Royce Phantom, right?
Yeah.
But it's just like heavier. It's more classic, and also it's like the old Middle Eastern dictator car. So there was a brief moment in time when Saddam Hussein's old Grocer was for sale in LA. Oh yeah, here we go. 111.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was triple digits there.
Yeah, hell yeah.
There we go. That was fun.
See, this is the road. This
is a good road.
Yeah.
It's a little bumpy, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, it'd be that car.
Did you say Hitler's car?
No.
Who was it?
No, 2 decades later, Saddam Hussein.
Oh, Saddam. Oh, another great guy.
Yeah.
Oh, not Hitler. Saddam,
Yeah. But definitely not.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But the story behind the car was crazy because it was this Iranian Persian dude that got it after the war as like a trophy. So he was like, Iranian didn't like Iraq, so he was selling it.
There we go.
Wow, first?
Good God, this is fast.
That's insane.
That was a little faster, about 120.
That makes the Elon story about crashing the McLaren make so much more sense. Where he's like, watch this.
All right, that's enough of that. Well, Augustus, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
Dude,
it was fun.
Yeah, that was great.
And no speeding tickets, so.
Did well. Have you gotten one on the pod yet?
Not yet.
Okay, all right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
My name is Trevor. This is Full Burn. Thanks for listening in. Bye.